If you are trying to figure out the perfect time to quit your job and go all in on your business, there is a good chance you're waiting for the wrong signal. I spent years building a business while working as a lawyer, but the business wasn't what finally pushed me to quit and go full-time. There was a bigger cost in play that took me years to recognize. And if you're not aware of it, it will keep you stuck in the messy middle, half in your job, half in your business, for years longer than you need to be. So in this video, I will walk you through the exact 6-month plan that I would follow if I had to do this all over again. So you can quit your job without wrecking your finances, torching your CV, or spending the rest of your life wondering what if. The first step is to stop adding weight to your life. And this means increasing your responsibilities, expenses, and commitments. Because it's not about skipping brunches and going out less so you can save more money. That helps, but it's not what makes or breaks the plan. What actually matters is harder to notice because it shows up as responsible adult moves. It is the milestones that society and our parents tell us to aim for. I spent years riddled with self-doubt and FOMO about this, watching everyone around me share Instagram stories about buying homes, big weddings, or having kids. It is the kind of feeling that can make you rush life-changing decisions just to avoid sitting in the in-between, and it only gets louder as you get older. And before I go deeper into it, I just want to say that owning a home or having kids does not mean that this plan isn't for you. But it does mean that you will have to lean harder on step 3, which I will get to in a moment. Buying a home can be framed as a great investment and something that should be your top priority after getting a job. And while that may have been true for our parents, it's not that simple. Their capital gain is our buy-in price, and what worked for them isn't guaranteed to work for us. And it depends on your goal too. But because of what I was taught by everyone around me, I was convinced that I was ruining my life for good by not being on the property ladder. But what I have learned with time is that a mortgage can take most of your working life to pay off, which makes your paycheck feel like a necessity that paralyzes you from things like quitting your job to start a business. And another version of this is kids. It is a beautiful idea, but it is also one of the biggest weights you can add to your life. And in my job as a lawyer, I saw working moms carry the stress of balancing family and a competitive work environment on a daily basis. It is a big part of why I decided to build my own plan to quit my job, regardless of whether I would end up wanting kids or not. I see starting a business as providing value to others while building capacity to scale your income beyond your hours and working on your terms. That will serve you with and without kids. Saying no to kids now doesn't mean saying no forever, but it's about keeping the load light so you can make bigger bets on yourself. The second step is something you can start alongside the first one, and it is to get the most out of your job while you're still in it. So get the bonus, get the raise, and get the promotions, but not at the expense of your bigger goals. Much of my lawyer career was about deliberately being good enough to get promoted on a reasonable timeline, but never dedicated enough to be available 24/7 or being everyone's go-to person. This preserved my energy so I could start my own business on the side. It's easy to look at your colleagues who may be working harder than you and feel insufficient. But if you want to take ownership of your time and energy to build something else, you need to let go of the idea that you can be everything to everyone and start protecting your time and set boundaries. I don't want to minimize the cost of not switching jobs, negotiating salary, or not moving quicker up the corporate ladder, but what you do to optimize your day job and when comes down to whether you need more runway or more time. And this depends on where you are with the next step of this plan. And when you're thinking about if you should ask for better pay, switch jobs, or something else, keep in mind that a higher salary usually gets justified with an expectation to work harder, and you have to be willing to make that trade. The third step is something you can start right away, and the earlier you get going, the better off you'll be. This is about you learning how to make money without your job, which means starting a business. And if you have no idea of what your business should be about, you have come to the right place, because I had to learn this the hard way. There is no ultimate business that's easy to start and works for everyone. We are all different, and what works will come down to your skills and priorities. But I am going to share a bit more about my first business to help you think about what you should look for when determining what right looks like to you. My first business was centered around content creation, mostly in the travel and food niche. And while I enjoyed that at 20% of my life, traveling for work became dreadful at 100%. You're exhausted most of the time and never on your own schedule. I was location tied to clients, at the mercy of sponsors, and never available to take a clean holiday. There are two popular pieces of advice when it comes to what business you should start. It's either do what you love or do what pays. Ideally, you want both. But after spending years in a business centered around doing what I love and figuring out how to monetize that, I realized that the real point gets buried underneath. You have to find work that you can stick with and enjoy the vast majority of the execution. And for me, that wasn't about being out and about shooting on behalf of other businesses. So I decided to put everything that I have learned from the 4 years of running that business, along with what I have learned from 7 years as a tax lawyer for ultra-wealthy entrepreneurs, into this channel and create a new desk job that I could see myself sticking with. So even if you end up with a business you can't stick with, it's never a waste of time. Most people who have successful businesses usually have a couple of failed ones behind them, and that experience is what makes the next one better. And here is how this connects back to step 1 and 2, because what you're doing there is building capacity to start, fail, and change your mind. You're building a runway, learning how to earn more, and figuring out how to tie all of this together so you can go all in. If you are trying to work out how much runway you need or what business you should start, I'm happy to connect and help you think through it. You'll find the link in the description. The 4th step will help you stay focused on sticking with the prior steps when things feel hard. I want you to measure the cost of waiting. And this is my way of explaining the relationship between how challenging it is to leave your job in your 20s versus your 40s, which is the orange line. The green line shows how ready you feel as you make more money, get skills, and get more confidence. When you're trying to figure out the best time to quit, you keep waiting for these two lines to meet at the perfect moment, but they won't. Time will always be your biggest advantage because you can always make more money, especially if your business is successful. When I look at my lawyer career and the people ahead of me, I saw that they didn't have the life I wanted. And if I kept going on that path, I would end up exactly where they are, with no ownership of my time or money, still working for successful entrepreneurs who had the freedom that I wanted. Think about what you are losing by staying where you are and not making the bolder moves like quitting before you're ready, investing in help, or letting fear prevent you from starting. When I was figuring out when to quit, it wasn't about waiting for my bank account to give me permission. Technically, I could have quit sooner, but I was scared and wanted to optimize everything. Ultimately, turning 30 and watching people around me settle made me realize that my window was closing. So I decided that I would quit about 6 months prior to doing it, and I set a date that was right after my next promotion. Having that new title would look better if I had to go back to that industry, but I didn't want the limitations and responsibilities that came with it, one of them being that running a business on the side was forbidden. The mistake most people make is sitting in the gap between quitting and staying for years. They're mentally checked out, but still there physically. But the longer you stay, the harder quitting gets, and that is why I think that this can be done far more efficiently than the 4 years of trial and error that I went through prior to committing fully. But before you do anything you can take back, you also need to consider the worst case scenario, which is step 5. So sit down and write out the worst things that could happen if quitting doesn't go as you plan, and for each one, what you would do to recover. What usually happens when you write things down is that the fear gets smaller. You get practical and realize that the worst case isn't even that bad. Because if you have a 9-to-5 now and your worst case is getting another one in a year or two, you would just come back to your current reality. You're not losing anything real. But you will have a story that no one else has, which makes you stand out in a good way. When I did this exercise, I found that I could recover from getting a new job, having to live with my parents, lose money, explain a CV gap, or whatever. But what I couldn't see myself recovering from was completely different. I saw that if I didn't go for this, I wouldn't recover from spending the rest of my life trading my best years for a career I didn't like and never finding out what I was capable of. Constantly wondering, what if? For me, this was my window, and I could see it closing right in front of me. And if you're experiencing similar worries and would like to chat about your next step towards quitting your job to start a business, you can book a call with me below. You'll find the link in the description. But before you hand in your notice, there are a few more things to think about. Step 6 is about not burning bridges, and this comes once you have mentally committed to quitting and you have set the date. First, consider your notice period. This depends on what country you live in, but in Sweden, mine was 3 months, which is an awful long time to stay in a job once you have told people you're quitting. For me, it was the lowest point in my career. I felt a lot of shame for leaving people behind and guilt for being able to leave without a new job lined up in the first place. And even if my relationship with my colleagues was good on the outside, I felt that they changed how they saw me overnight. But how you will show up when everyone knows that you are mentally checked out is a true test to your character. And if you want a good reference or a way back into the company if you would ever need it, you want to leave on good terms. So keep up the good work ethic, smile, and make it clear that you still care and that you want to make this transition as smoothly as possible. So that is the step-by-step plan that I would use if I had to quit my job for my business all over again. And quitting your job for a business is a constant balance between allocating your time, money, and energy to where it matters the most at each step of the journey. And it takes a lot more skill, clarity, thinking, and experience than I thought when I started on the side about 5 years ago. But how you do this and how long it takes comes down to doing the right activities and getting the right skills. And to get started, you can watch this video where I share more about figuring out what business you should start so you can get going more efficiently. See you there.